Right. Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. Welcome back to Twin Tarot. I'm taking over. Welcome back to Twin Tarot. I'm David.
And I'm David.
Yes, and that's not David. How come your name says Gary?
This is not David.
Yeah, Michelle threw me off saying, "Sup, dude."
Yeah, you know how Michelle is. She's always a laugh riot over there.
Yeah.
How's she feeling, by the way?
She's recovering from her jet lag. She flew in from Japan yesterday. And boy, are her arms tired.
Rim shot. Well, you're here all week, folks.
Yeah. Tip your waitresses. Try the veal. Anyway.
Yes.
Gary got his Irish up.
Yeah.
Apparently you saw a story that I'll let him take away, explain everything.
Yeah, so I haven't actually seen the Midas Touch story yet, but I'm getting a lot of comments because I read all of the comments. And several folks, we had just done a video today that came out, and we're talking about illegal orders, basically the messaging that came out from Senator Mark Kelly and other Democrats reminding the military that they are there to support the Constitution and they are honored, duty bound to ignore illegal orders, disobey.
Didn't our reading, didn't we also say, boy, the White House is really defensive about this?
I think the term that was used, and PSA, put your coffee down if you haven't heard it, is the White House is losing their mud about this. And
I said that's a fancy word for poo.
Yes, right. I had one person in the comment that said they loved the term. Unfortunately, they were drinking coffee at the time the term came out, so they had to clean up a little bit of a coffee mess. But the folks who were in the comments were saying that Midas Touch Network had a video coming out where Hegseth had basically given orders that there will be no survivors of these attacks on the Venezuelan fishing vessels, seagoing vessels.
Vessels? The nuclear vessels?
The nuclear vessels.
Yeah, I believe it was the Washington Post was the original source. They had two sources that the Washington Post said. Pete Hegseth basically said, kill everyone or something along those lines. Let me see if I can get the exact quote while you're sharing more of the story.
Yeah. So it's that, and that kind of got my Irish up because we had been talking in that video about Nuremberg and how, I was simply following orders isn't good enough, and it starts to explain why, like there was an admiral that basically quit and retired.
Kill them all was the exact quote.
Kill them all. Was he playing Mortal Kombat? Finish them. People have rights. It seems like Trump and his regime of merry band of enablers seem to have forgotten about the Constitution, or they've never actually looked at it because, there are certain rights you have if you're in the United States. There are certain rights you have that the United States agreed to with the Geneva Convention. And there are just certain things you cannot do, and they just ignore it and do it just the same. And it gets to the point where I want to know, are they going to be held to account for this? Will the ICC actually go after these folks, and will the United States even bring their own citizens and military personnel in front of them? Before you can get to there, you should just ask, will they be held accountable? Yeah,
in the military court, whether it's the International Criminal Court or a U.S. military court.
Exactly, and that's ultimately where I want to go with it, is will they be held to account? I mean, it's one of the frustrating bits was after Trump 1.0, it took the Democrats too goddamn long to get all the evidence together and put together a compelling story in an airtight case. Because by the time they finally got everything out, you had the 2022 elections and they lost the House, and then the Republicans conveniently buried everything.
Yeah, and then the air brakes are put on in the court system.
Yep.
For everything that did get through.
Yes.
And as much as Merrick Garland was, I think, trying to be a fair arbiter of justice, he was way too ponderous. One of the worst things that happened in 2020 election was Kamala Harris was elected the VP as opposed to being named the Attorney General.
Yeah.
Because I think if she was the Attorney General, we would have a much different conversation going on right now.
Well, absolutely. And yeah, it's
I'm already ahead, let's go get them, boys.
I'm already waiting for the Merrick Garland comments to come in because, man, you wanna fire up the comments section. Just bring up the name Merrick Garland. People are
whoever and in some ways, I would love to have Kamala Harris be the president president-elect in 2028. I am more than willing to have another Democrat, be the president-elect in 2028, so long as Kamala Harris is given first crack at the Attorney General position.
Oh my God!
Because I think she would just be absolutely ruthless.
Yeah, I just that
you're putting her in her wheelhouse. Oh yeah, I could do this. Watch this.
There's just there's so much injustice in the Justice Department right now, and one of the fears is all the folks with moral and ethics are getting the hell out of Dodge, and
which leaves a moral ethical void
potentially.
It's the same thing with the commander in for the fleet in the Caribbean. If you're given an illegal order, you have two choices. You carry it out, and then later on, you may be subject to a court martial and criminal war crime charges, or you ignore it, and then you basically get pressured to resign or face court martial for ignoring an order.
Yes, and so it's there is a huge potential for an ethical void or ethical vacuum, if you will.
And again, if that commander doesn't give that order and he's relieved of duty, it's going to go right down the food chain until you get somebody who's willing to execute that order or risk executing that order.
Yeah, that's willing to take that gamble, right?
Yeah, and then what's going to happen is the next person in line has to either carry out that order or say it's an illegal order and ignore it, all the way down to the pilot who took the shot.
Yeah, and it's one of those.
You want to voluntarily lose your job, or do you want to be removed from your job?
Yeah, it just makes you wonder, where does this snowball start? Who pushes the snowball down the hill and gets this whole process rolling?
Why, you would think it starts at the very top, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, but the very top is what's causing the problem that needs to be hit by a big snowball.
Hey, if you've got a Secretary of Defense ordering a strike and to basically kill everyone on that ship, that's where the problem started. Illegal order being given, and then it goes down the food chain through the path of least resistance.
Yeah. So let me restate what I was trying to say. Who starts the snowball of justice to bring this to an end and hold those accountable? That'd be a good first question. Will there be a snowball of justice and accountability waiting for those that are carrying out these orders that are ethically and morally bankrupt? You could argue all day long whether they're legal or not. It's just, if these guys are truly running drugs, this is not the crime. The punishment doesn't fit the crime. And then these orders to make sure there's no survivors. So the guys that are clinging on to the side of the ship, you launch another missile to make sure they don't survive.
Double tapping them. Yeah. And again, this all goes down to, if this was a war, they would be enemy combatants and subject to treatment of enemy combatants. And now you're trying to say, well, we're not at war. Well, then those are civilians, and you shouldn't have been attacking them in the first place.
Exactly.
And where they're trying to skirt with it is like, well, these are like terrorists. These are like non-state actors or something like that. But guess what? The military even has a category for them, and they get treated just like any military person or combatant or anything along those lines. You attack, they're injured. If they're no longer a threat, you don't get to kill them. Yeah. You don't get to take no prisoners. You're actually obligated they had something about shipwrecked things. You actually have an obligation to save them if this is happening in waters like that.
Yep.
And remember, they did get 2 people, and then they returned them back to their countries. Yep. Why didn't you bring them to the United States to try them? Why weren't they prisoners of war? Why weren't they brought to the U.S. courts for criminal trials? You know, their story doesn't add up, and the folks in the middle. Hence, why Mark Kelly and others put out that PSA, because they are trying to give soldiers an out and remind them that you don't want to go through this process.
Yeah, give us some cover. Okay, so let's look at the energy around this. Will there be a snowball of justice coming for this? Entertainment purposes only. I'm asking the question. I hope I get cards that are satisfactory. I really don't know. I haven't fixed the deck this time.
Unlike all the other times.
I know, exactly. Okay, so foundation of the reading is temperance. So my first thing is, okay, what are we, are these orders illegal? Okay, what's the balance here? Because like Dave was mentioning, even if they are considered terrorists, they still have certain rights. And right now we're seeing that people's rights are just secondary to whatever Trump wants. And the foundation will the justice snowball becoming is temperance. People will start finding that there's going to be a balance that's found. Cooler heads are going to prevail. The challenge is the magician, Trump trying to manifest his own set of rules and basically his own special set of exceptions to the rules. Energy underneath it is the 2 of Swords. A choice needs to be made. How badly do you want to go after the rights of alleged drug runners? I mean, there might not be a lot of people out there that want to spend political capital or go after the rights of these people if they are truly drug runners. To me, it doesn't make a damn bit of difference. They were human beings that had rights. This is from a lifelong Republican, by the way. In the past, you had the Queen of Wands, lots of actions being taken. Could be very questionable or illegal actions. Current energy is the 10 of Cups. This is the whole celebration of life, people's celebrating people's rights, being happy with the way the world is working.
Didn't I get the whole wand court when I did my throw yesterday? Or
you
the other day when we did this?
Yeah, I think you did, actually. Did you get the Knight of Wands? I
did not get the Knight of Wands. You had that one on your reading, as I recall.
Yeah. Overarching energy is the 4 of Cups. Not happy with what's been taking place. A solution presents itself. This current energy with this could be Trump and MAGA celebrating how safe they're making the world and how, the kids are safe from fentanyl and all this drug use. But overarching energy is not happy with what's been done. A solution presents itself. Lesson to be learned, Ace of Swords, the truth will come out. It'll be a new beginning on the truth. And Ace of Cups, it's going to be a passionate and emotional situation. So will a justice snowball occur? Something is going to happen. There's a choice that someone makes because they're unhappy with what's been going on and how some are celebrating this. And that it's a truth. I mean, it could totally be an ICC type of thing. Where the ICC gets involved. The problem with the ICC is they have no teeth. It's up to the United States to hand over the citizens that the players that are out there committing these crimes.
So I think we want to go with this. Well, certainly the revelation by the Washington Post explains the White House's very strong pushback on the PSA.
Yeah, that could be what that sword, that Ace of Swords and the Ace of Cups is, the truth came out and the White House lost its mud over it.
Sure. And I want to look at the folks in the military post PSA.
Okay.
These orders have been leaked. You take in the context with the PSA. Oh, and there was another announcement that was done today, basically confirming that was an illegal order. Let me pause for a second, see if I can actually find it. Okay, I think I found it here, courtesy of Google AI, and I did the term Hegseth illegal order finding. Two separate but related points. A federal court found that a Trump administration military deployment, which defense Pete Hegseth defended, was illegal under the Posse Comitatus Act. I don't think that's this. Hegseth has initiated an investigation of Mark Kelly and 5 other Democratic lawmakers who appear to be reminding service members to refuse illegal orders. The Posse Comitatus Act was against the civilians. Kelly's. No, I can't find it. This was something that was a kind of a breaking news. I think Aaron Parnas had it on there. But long and short, there was an assessment that was done, and it's looking at Hegseth's orders in the Caribbean as being illegal. It's basically violating international law and various other things, as we talked about in the very long intro here. I'm going to read on the military personnel in that arena. What's the energy around them that all this information is coming out? How are they handling it?
So, Dave, just real quick, Senator Rand Paul said in an October 26th appearance on Fox News Sunday that he would call that extrajudicial killings. This is akin to what China does, what Iran does with drug dealers. They summarily execute people without presenting evidence to the public, so it's wrong. And then Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut basically was quoted saying, if you want to know why Hegseth is panicking about reminders that there is accountability for giving or carrying out illegal orders, it's likely because he knows he has given illegal orders to murder people.
Exactly. Now, the thing I was referring to was some judicial panel or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But for the Susan Lin fans that are also watching our channel, we all know that about a year ago, she was using the term extrajudicial all the time. And this is yet another example of that coming up. That woman is good with what she does. Well, let's see how the military is processing all this. Foundation readings, the 8 of Cups. They have to move away from it. They have to move away from these orders and get clarification. This is really putting them in an awkward spot. They're trained to do one thing, but now you're forcing them to walk away from their training. Because the consequences are, and again, we talked about this earlier, you get an illegal order and you walk away from it, so you're very voluntarily walking away from your commission. Because if you're a fighter pilot or bomber pilot and you ignore that order to strike that ship, they're going to come down and they're going to ask you, they're going to court-martial you, or they're going to move you to a different assignment. So you're going to walk away from the job that you love. But if you carry out that order, you run the risk of having a court-martial later on, and what's going to hit you is going to be way worse. So either you ignore the order and you get removed by the federal government, or you carry out the order and then later on the federal government comes after you for breaking the law. High Priestess is underneath it. You have to use your own wisdom. You got the pillars of wisdom. It's a black and white choice. You have to, in a gray area, you have to make a black or white choice as to what you're going to do. In the past, the King of Wands, by Attorney General card, normally in normal times, issues coming from the White House would have gone through a bunch of lawyers. They would have checked with the Department of Justice on the legality of it before giving those orders, and then the military commanders would issue those orders down. So there would be a whole chain of command, but you would expect that there was a mature process of legality going through there. Now, the current situation is the Chariot. The Chariot is normally a slow grinding forward, but to me, this is now the reverse of the Chariot, which is things are now out of control. Nobody's in charge. And the Chariot is spinning wildly out of control. You can't pretend that it's in control because it's not. Nobody knows who's steering the ship. Overarching energy is the Queen of Cups. And they not only do you not know who's steering the ship, but you don't know what you do. It's like things are being kept secret, being kept isolated from you. The Eight of Cups. It's now up to the military folks to make their choices. This is hard. This is very hard on them. One of the, I had a friend who was in the military. He retired as a lieutenant colonel in the Army, and his whole life, as I looked at it in review, everything was about making stuff as black and white as possible. He did not like gray. The gray zones are bad. So he grew up in a conservative household. He was an administrative justice major. He went into the military. He likes the church. Everything defines things very black and white. You're told what to do by somebody above you, and then you tell somebody beneath you what to do. Very, very structured. And he was very comfortable in that highly structured environment. And right now, you're taking people who are attracted to highly structured environments and you're putting them into the fogs of war. And this is a very difficult thing for them to navigate. It's one of the things, though, that our military values, because that's why our NCOs are given so much leeway to do things, because the plans are great, but the plans don't usually survive once the enemy contact is made. You've got to improvise. Lesson to be learned is the Five of Swords. You have to look out for yourself. You have to look out for number one. And the choice you make, you have to own all the way through. As we talked about in the last video, many a concentration camp prison guard tried to use the defense that they were just following orders. Outcome is the Eight of Coins. They're the ones who have to do the work. They're the ones who have to follow their values. And they're put in an impossible situation. Truly an impossible situation, because you're either going to give up your career or you're going to hold on to your career longer, but you could face consequences, whether it's moral, ethical, financial, or legal consequences for your choices. But you've got to stand up for your values.
All right. Will Trump and his administration be held to account for this? Just a yes or no.
I thought that would be a
Nine of Swords. Got nightmare anxieties. New messaging. A new action being taken. Hangman. Should I be taking that literally? You got the Hangman. And then there's that Two of Swords again. And then there's Dave's Five of Swords. Knowing when to fight or walk away. Will they be held accountable? I'd say this is we haven't decided yet. You've got the Nine of Swords, which is, this anxiety, this nightmare situation we're in. You got the Page of Wands underneath it. It's creative actions or new actions, new messaging that's coming out as a result that could be creating this nightmare situation. You have a choice, and you have to look at this a little differently. And it's knowing when to fight, know when to walk away. I get a big I don't know yet out of that. I don't get a yes or a no out of that. It can go
what I'm getting out of that one is it's yes, and it's going to be nightmarish because where do you stop? Because you know where they're going to start is with the fighter pilot.
Yeah.
They're going to start with the guy who pressed the button. And they're going to say, okay, well, I was given this order by this person. So then they're going to go to that person. And they're going to go to the person who gave the order above that, so on and so forth. And do you go all the way to Trump? Do you stop at Hegseth? Do you stop at somebody beneath him? Where do you stop? Where do the dominoes stop?
So this is what I got just pulling off the top. You've got, who are you going after first? Who are you going to leave out in the cold? There's really no way out. Your hands are tied. You have to start somewhere, and you start.
Yeah, they'll start with the lowest thing first.
Yep. Yeah.
Because that's the easiest one. You pulled the trigger, you murdered those people. Yep. And then it starts getting a little bit nebulous. It gets a little harder and harder every time you go up the food chain.
Yeah. So, these are folks that felt they had little choice, that was what they had to do. The governmental leadership, and then it becomes the wheel of fortune. So it could go way up the food chain.
It depends on who your attorney general is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you've got Pam Bondi, nothing's going to happen.
And if you got Kamala Harris, Hegseth is going down. And if you get the Supreme Court to overturn a few things, Trump may be protected, because at that point he made the decision he was never going to be held accountable for it. So, no, he won't live long enough anyways to ever be held accountable. So it stops with Hegseth at that point.
Yeah. All right. That's what we got.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching this video. We appreciate it.
Yes. The Ace of Cups was definitely present in this one. Yeah. Leave a comment. I read them all, respond to many. We've had some very interesting comments coming through the Tarot by the Bay channel and the Twin Tarot channel. Sure. So, into every life a little rain must fall, I suppose.
Another day in paradise.
Yes. Okay. So how about a couple of shout outs to make everything better? Terry 10, as the neighborhood cat lady, she's kept 5 kitty cats. She's down to 3: Lisbeth, Annabelle, and Lunatic.
Which means she's out on the lookout for more cats.
Rudy 2360 wants to give a shout out to Thelma and Louise. They should make a movie after those cats, right?
Good cat dad. And
then Patrice Wright wants a shout out for Naguru, which is Maori for cat.
We get the Knight of Swords.
Dog. And then 2 more. Amy Warrior Princess. Hi to my mom and daughter, Calico Kitties, Ray and Leia.
We got the Queen of Wands with the cat.
Yes. And then we'll wrap it up with Natalie, who's watching these shows with Star and Nugget.
And we get Star and Nugget. Very pleased to be watching the shows.
Absolutely. David. And I want to give a happy birthday wish. It'll be a day late. We're recording this on November 29th. It's about 7:00 at night. But Lily, also known as Baldur's Place, is having a birthday today. Happy birthday. It'll be a day late when you see this, Lily. So birthday card for you. You live your finest life on this birthday there.
Live it up.
And then for the rest of us, you got the High Priestess. We've got all sorts of secrets that we're trying to uncover. And sometimes we get to the bottom of it. Sometimes we don't. Do your best. We'll get through it. Anyways, that's what we got for you.
All right. Thank you again, everyone. We'll catch you on the next video. Take care.
Take care. Bye.